Karalyn Cromeens here. I can't believe it, but we've actually finally made it to our 100th episode. 100 episodes. Wow. We started officially in February of 21. It's been a long, exciting ride and a completely different person than I was in February of 21. I hope that you are too, in a good way. So I wanted to take a second and take a look back. Why did I start the podcast? So, for those of you that don't know, Quick Getting Screwed is actually the name of my first book. Quick Getting Screwed: How to Understand and Negotiate a Commercial Subcontract. And so I launched the book in January of 21, and I launched the podcast shortly thereafter. Well, the same reason why I wrote the book is the same reason why I started the podcast. It's because there's all these, and at first when I started, my focus was on commercial contractors. There's all these dangers out there and nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying how dangerous these contract terms are in these commercial subcontracts. And actually, the reason why I specifically wrote the book was because I had taken, and this has happened several times through the course of my construction litigation career. I had taken a client to trial who didn't do anything wrong. His work was all right, but he didn't understand what the pay when paid clause meant. And he very fast ran out of money and couldn't handle the project because he wasn't getting paid until 90, 120 days after he'd already done the work. And so his subs were screaming for money, and he just couldn't afford to front the project anymore, so he had to quit. But as we got into the litigation, it became very clear that it wasn't because he was doing anything wrong. It was because the general contractors kept submitting incomplete pay apps to the owner, which would push payments back 30, 60, 90, 120 days. Although it was not his fault, he wasn't entitled to payment until the general contractor received payment from the owner. And so although he didn't do anything wrong, they didn't have an obligation to pay him until they were actually paid, even though they were the reason for the pay applications being submitted and incorrectly, and the reason for them not getting paid. So, my client got a judgment against them. It was a huge blow to them, and to me, it's like, hey, no, why is nobody saying anything about these commercial contracts? How dangerous they can be, how one-sided they are, especially in plain English, where everybody can understand what you were saying. So that prompted me to write the book, Quick Getting Screwed, which in there's 20 chapters of all of the bullshit that is in a commercial subcontract and some ways on how to negotiate it. And really, even though if you're not successful at negotiating, but understanding what you sign and understanding the ramifications of what you sign. So, I wrote the book and I started the podcast as a platform to get the word out about, hey, there's huge dangers in this. And that if you're not careful, one wrong project could take you out of business. And so really getting out there and saying it in plain English, from somebody who grew up in the construction industry, who can talk your language, who understands what you're going through on a day-to-day basis, just to keep the doors open and willing to sign the contract. So, we offer contract review services to let you know in plain English so you can understand the contract that you're signing, and on a flat fee, and kind of go from there, so that you can flag out the things that you want to negotiate. But even if you're not successful, you fully understand the risk that you're taking by signing that contract, right? And so that's a huge part of what I do, is evaluating risk for all contractors. And so I started out, although the book was aimed towards commercial contractors, I started out there, very fastly became more involved with residential contractors and how they face the same dangers in working with homeowners, right? If you don't have a well-written contract that spells out how the project is going to go, the relationship between the parties, you very fast too can end up in a lawsuit, right? So I've spent nearly 20 years in construction litigation, have represented homeowners, have represented contractors, and I can tell you, for residential contractors, the biggest issue, the biggest reason why residential contractors end up in litigation is because the homeowners don't understand your process. They have a way in their mind they think it's going to go, and when it doesn't go that way, they think you're doing it wrong. So putting in time and residential contractors on the front end, explaining how the process is going to go, putting that in a contract where you can understand it, your client can understand it, is just a huge help in deterring any litigation, in the end, or any disagreements. If we're upfront and we manage clients' expectations, which is what a contract should do, you're a lot less likely to have issues later on, right? As soon as we have a homeowner informed of truly how this is going to go, there seems to be a lot less issues later on. And just keeping in contact with them, make sure they're doing all right, and they understand everything, answering their questions in a timely manner, and being honest. Don't say what you think that they want to hear. Say the truth and tell them just honestly, this is how it is. This is where we're at. Good, bad, the ugly, whatever it is, just be honest. People can tell when you're lying and not being truthful. And I've personally dealt with plenty of contractors that I could tell were just trying to tell me what I wanted to hear, so I'd quit asking them questions. That's not a good way to have a relationship. So being honest and upfront, plain English contracts, tell them about change orders, tell them about the schedule, tell them about the punch out process, how all of that's going to go. You'll be a lot less likely to have issues later on. And then when there is issues, address it immediately, right? Okay, so my residential clients, there is an issue, go out, address it, and then follow up with an email like, here's the issue, here's how we're going to address it, so that we have proof that you're addressing the issue if something does come up later on. If you need ideas, you want to bounce, you have a situation you need some thoughts on, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or any social media platform. I'll send you the link to schedule on my Calendly. We can talk through the situation and give you all of your options, which, are not litigation at first, right? We're going to talk through how to respond to a letter. We can respond to demand letters for you, to try to keep you out of the courtroom, right? Like, you should really listen to my Litigation Sucks series on all the ways that litigation sucks. None of them are wrong. Sometimes it's called for, sometimes it's the only way, but I want to make sure that we're making an informed decision about what litigation actually is, and is it the right decision in that particular situation, right? And so I really started the podcast as a platform to be, warning, danger, how do you do this right? And then it's kind of evolved over, okay, immediate danger, I've shown you all the signs, here's where the immediate danger is, but it's also a place to grow yourself and your business. I don't think your business can grow without you growing as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. So we still bring up danger points all the time, lien waivers, liens, all of that stuff. We still talk about those danger points, but we also have time to be intentional. Like, what are the goals for the business? How are we going to reach those goals? And, I've had on some great guests about mindset and processes and all the different things that you really need to run a successful business, because I'm an attorney, but I also run a business. And there's some parts of running a business that are the same, right? So I have a team of 28 right now. And there are some parts of managing people in a business that are the same in all businesses, whether you're, remodel contractor or a law firm, right? You have to have good processes and systems set up to make sure that everybody knows what to expect. Just like your clients want to know what to expect, so does your team, and so does your employee, and being open and upfront about that, and financial goals, financial reporting. What do we need to look at? How do we need to measure that? That's another part of being intentional and setting goals for your business. So I really tried the podcast to, number one, warn you of the dangers out there, how to prevent it, how to negotiate it. But on the second part of it, how to develop yourself and your business to be successful, right? I know, especially when business owners first start out, I start out because they really love what they're doing and they want to go do that thing. And very fast you realize if you're good at what you do, you have to learn how to run a business to keep doing that thing, right? And nobody, at least I went to law school. They didn't teach how to run a business there. And I don't know, how to learn by just going in there and figuring out and doing it. And so, I started my own law firm in 2006. So I've had a lot of time, a lot of experience managing people, developing processes, really coming up with a customer service friendly process that is based on what my clients need, right? And I think that's what every business has to do to be successful. So a lot of the guests I have on are trying to help you in one way or another figure out how to do that for your business, right? So I set up my business to be as predictable in pricing and time frame and turnaround as possible, right? That's because I know that's what's important to you, because I've been in your shoes. I want to know, if I'm going to hire you, how much is it going to cost and when can I get the work product. So I've really designed my business around looking at what my customer needs. And I think any successful business will. So, this podcast will always be, hey, there's legal warning and there's legal things to watch out for in the construction industry, but also how to run a successful business, how to not let your business run you, and you really work on running your business so you can have more free time to spend with your family. Although you put your heart and soul into your business, it should not, kill you at the end of the day, right? We should still have some work-life balance or something like that where you can still get time away from work to enjoy life, and it's not always what you do. And don't be wrong, as a business owner, I think there's even when you're away from your business, it's always kind of going on in the back of your mind of ideas, the things you need to work on, but there's, you don't want to burn out either. So there's got to be a balance of time to focus specifically on the business and time to step back and think about things and think about non-work related things and just have a good time. So I hope that's what this podcast is helping you do. If you have suggestions on guests or specific questions you want answered, tag me on social media, email me. I'm here to answer all the questions I can from, at the end of the day, I'm an attorney, but I'm also a problem solver. And a lot of what I do is solve problems without getting in the courtroom. So if you need suggestions on that, some ideas on how to improve your business, I'm here for that as well. Or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast and like it, and reach out if you have any other topics you want me to address. Hey guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate it.